class. Back to properties of quadrilaterals. I really liked this graphic organizer because it shows you that quadrilaterals is the big picture. It's a four-sided polygon. And so you'll notice up here that quadrilaterals is the entire box, right? And then within quadrilaterals, we have more specific shapes. And so we'd already went over parallelograms in the last video. And so the parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two pairs of parallel sides, and it has other properties, which we went over, right? Now, what I think is interesting is from there, we have parallelograms that are even more specific. So we have rectangles, squares, and rhombuses. And these three are a parallelogram. So they fall under the same rules as parallelograms. They also follow under the same rules as quadrilaterals. So whatever rules we just learned about parallelograms, I want you to understand that rectangles, squares, and rhombuses will have those parallelogram rules as well. However, they'll have more. So a rectangle is more specific, right? A rectangle is a parallelogram. So it's going to have all those rules we just went over, all those properties, but it also has four right angles. So we know that each corner of the rectangle is a 90-degree angle. Okay. But then it also contains all the other properties we went over. Okay. A square, it contains properties as well from the parallelogram. However, it also is very special because it has the properties of a rhombus and a rectangle. So you might have heard a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. And so this is kind of where it comes from. So a square is a rhombus, a square is a rectangle, a square is a parallelogram, and it's a quadrilateral. So a square is very special. It follows all those properties. So let's talk about the rhombus for a minute. A rhombus is a parallelogram, so it still has all the properties of a parallelogram. The difference is all four sides of a rhombus are congruent, but then it still has the other rules. Now, the rhombus does not have 90-degree angles, so a rhombus is not a rectangle because it's not 90 degrees. However, all four of its sides are equal. If you remember, a square, all four of its sides are equal. So again, a square is a rhombus. However, a square also has 90-degree angles like a rectangle. And so that's why this square is really important because it follows all the rules above. And so I really liked this graphic organizer that shows you all this, okay? And so if we go real quick, we say, okay, is a triangle a quadrilateral? Well, a quadrilateral, the definition up here is that it must have four sides. So we know that a quadrilateral has to have four sides, and we know that a triangle does not. It only has three. And so the answer number one is no. Okay. Number two, is a square always a rectangle? Okay. The word always is really tough because always means, is it always a rectangle? But the answer is yes, because a square follows the same properties. And so, yes, a square is a rectangle. Okay. So we've got no here. Let's just keep track. And we've got yes to number two. Okay. And so then number three, if we read it, it says, is a rhombus always a parallelogram? So remember, we said the rhombus does follow the properties of a parallelogram. So the answer is yes, that it is a parallelogram. Okay. Okay, is a rectangle always a rhombus? And so in this case, that is not true because a rectangle does not have four equal sides and a rhombus does, okay? Now, can a rectangle have four equal sides? Yes, but usually that's not the case. Then it'd be a square. And so the answer there is no, okay? So what do we know that all quadrilaterals have, right? All quadrilaterals must have four sides. That's the only thing that all quadrilaterals have in common, okay, is that they have the four sides. I'm just going to put an S, okay? What must be true about a rhombus in order for it to be a square? So we know that the rhombus, right, is got four equal sides. However, in order for a rhombus to be a square, it also needs the four right angles, okay? So that's what requires there. What must be true about a rectangle in order for it to be a square? Well, in that case, we again need all four sides to be congruent, okay? And the last one, what must be true about a rhombus in order for it to be a rectangle? A rhombus